Tom.
And I'm Tanner.
Welcome to episode 167 of Bird Squawk. We're getting closer, baby.
Getting closer and closer each week. We got the last preseason game this week against the Colts tomorrow night. Coming off the game with the Browns and coming off a lot of joint practice drama yesterday and stuff like that. So we got a lot to talk about. Getting closer and closer to meaningful football. Like we said, one more week of preseason this week off, and then September, I want to say 10th is the Patriots opener up in New England. But yeah, so last week, Browns, Eagles, joint practice week. From when we were recording last week, that was going well for the most part. Heard mostly positive stuff throughout the week with the joint practices with the Browns. And then the game, starters didn't play. Doesn't look like that's going to be a thing at all. I would be shocked if they play tomorrow, definitely basing off of the chippiness that has been going on with the joint practices. But kind of is what it is. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot going on when we're back to complaining about backup quarterbacks. So it is what it is. It's the classic, we should bring Foles back. We should bring Wentz back. It's like, dude, if we're getting to a backup quarterback, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, that's the thing people lose sight of. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't want any of those dudes ever playing. So, if we got to resort to Marcus Mariota or Tanner
McGee, man. Everyone loves Tanner McGee. He is looking pretty good.
But we don't want any of those dudes sniffing the field.
That's what I mean.
We want Hurts to be rolling, stay injury-free, and this offense is going to click. And Colts, don't be coming in our house thinking you can just do what you want to do, all right? No, that doesn't fly, all right? Told you before. We're back to the link is our domain. Right?
Yeah, so we'll get more to the joint practice. Not a lot from the game. I mean, Zech McPherson going down, that hurts. I mean, what are the odds that back-to-back weeks in preseason games a dude blows his Achilles? Like, that's not something that happens every day. So, I mean, that hopefully not a sign of things to come. Obviously not the biggest casualties. But two guys on special teams that are special teams guys. I mean, they're not world beaters, but they're good depth in the positions they're at and on special teams. So if those are your casualties, if those are your sacrifices, it's okay. But it's got to kind of stay at that point, hopefully, before we get too in-depth with the season. Nakobe Dean played, had the forced fumble at the goal line. That was good to see.
Miles Jack retires.
Yeah, so really random.
Kind of opened up the linebacker.
But I heard today
right?
that Cunningham is very close to wrapping up that second linebacker position. So it seems like it's probably going to be Nakobe and Cunningham as the starting linebackers from what I was seeing and hearing today. I didn't watch really any of the game last week. I know that people were saying he was looking pretty good, the Cunningham, and Nakobe showed his signs of what needs to be. So we'll have to see. I mean, you bring those guys in. The Miles Jack thing is kind of weird. I guess he maybe saw the writing on the wall, and rather than getting cut, just hung up his boots. But we'll have to see.
I really feel like he saw what was coming.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a veteran and you go to camp, that stuff kind of like hits you.
Yeah.
And he knew he was probably definitely not going to be making the roster spot, which surprised me because I thought that was a nice pickup.
I know. I thought maybe it was a sneaky good pickup too.
We're going to get something here, a 1-year deal, and get a player, but who knows, man? It just goes to prove then the shelf life of an NFL player is not very long.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's a good sign that a guy like that isn't making the team, in all honesty. That means that there's youth. That means there's younger players beating him out, looking better.
We said that before. We said that a couple episodes before that we wanted some players. We wanted some dogs. And we wanted to get young. And Howie did that, man.
Without a doubt.
Howie went out and got young. I mean, the big thing they're talking about now, and, is like, who is running back number one? Who is it?
I know we've talked about this
You
a
know?
long
Is it gonna
time.
be Gainwell?
I lean towards it's Gainwell. I mean, from
But
what
Swift is just wow.
everything I've heard out of camp and even at the end of last year was that Gainwell was kind of Kenny G was their guy that they were going to roll
Yeah.
with. But I know I touched on this very early, probably 2-3 weeks ago, that I don't really know if there is going to be a running back one. I think it's going to be very 2017 Blunt, Ajayi, Clement kind of rep that you're going to feed the hot hand. You're going to have guys that you
Yeah.
want to use, but say that you wanted to start with Kenny G, Swift's popping them off, then you roll with Swift, or if Penny's popping them off, you go with Penny. I think that's the vibe.
I feel like all those dudes have a little piece, you know, depending on what situation we're in, who's going to be back there.
No, I agree. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
the game plan. I think they're gonna. I think Kenny G is gonna be the guy probably, but I don't think he's gonna be like the every down back.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're gonna have a guy like that. Kind of how Miles was last year for the first time in a long time. That this team had a really every down back, other than like third downs was always something you mess around with. But yeah, I think in that position is a position of a lot of upside. It's not a lot of sure bets, but I think there's a lot of big play potential, a lot of positive, and a lot of good surprises coming out of that room. Because at the end of the day, I know Swift and Penny can get banged up quickly, but you still have Gainwell, you still have Boston. Yeah, I think the running backs, as much as we were concerned and some people were worried when Miles left, I think they're in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just ready. I'm ready for this season to just kick off, man. I'm ready. I'm excited. Was down there with my little 5-year-old grandson last week. You know, he first ever Eagles game live. He kind of got a little overwhelmed. He loved it. We had a great time. And I'm just ready, man. Being down there in the stadium was like, okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
it's time.
For
It's
sure.
time.
Without a doubt. I was down a couple weeks ago for Premier League soccer when the summer series was. That wasn't even football. Well, it was different football. But just being back in the stadium, without a doubt, was ready to get back. I'm still ready to get back. And knowing that it's just, about less than a month away that we'll be back at the link. Less than a month in total until they're back on the field playing meaningful football. It's exciting because, the trend of this week doesn't seem like starters are going to play again. Just the way.
Why even put them?
Well, at this point,
No.
no. I don't know. I'm always a believer that reps, even if it's one, is good. But I know that these joint practices have a lot of stock for coaches and front offices and stuff. And I know they've been kicking tail this week in the joint practices. I think the big reason why the scuffle happened yesterday is that they were dominating the Colts on both sides. And I would assume much of the same again today. This team, we've talked about it all the time. We talked about it last year, and we talked about it early already. The chemistry, the leadership. Even though Kelsey came out and said that's not something he should do, they got each other's back, man. They're not going to let people push them around, disrespect them. And, I know we're in a good spot with top to bottom from this team, from a leadership and mindset and all that.
The team is tight, man. You can see it with any sport, right? If a team is bonded together, man, sky's the limit. That's why, say what you want, but I know all those guys walked off that field on Super Bowl Sunday and were like, we've got a mission now.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I mean. I really we'll start seeing what happens when the bullets start flying again. And but I have a lot of faith in this team. This early stretch, I expect a very similar start to last season. I expect going off and starting like 7-0 or something like that.
Word is Jalen got better.
Yeah.
Right?
I think everyone's got better.
You remember years ago, guys played the last game. That was it. These guys, man, they played the last game. It was like a week later, back to work.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's just adding. We talked about it before, but, I mean, him and AJ this year and him and Devontae are just going to take it to another level, I think.
I think so too. I think that connection, another year of that, it's a big thing with quarterbacks and timing and with wide receivers and getting comfortable to their play styles, and just another year of that for AJ and another year of that for 3 now for Devontae. It pays dividends without a doubt. So
yeah, I mean, the thing we always talk about, that elephant in the room, is just stay healthy.
yeah,
right?
and that's the thing
We
that
can stay healthy. Injuries derail everything, right?
Yep.
So if we can stay healthy, keep putting those guys out on the field, and hey, you're going to get dinged, right? But
Yeah.
you got to have that next man up mentality as well. But if we can keep those starters healthy and on the field, sky's the limit.
without a doubt, and we'll see. I mean, after this week, then it's just a waiting game at this
Woo,
point.
baby,
I mean, when
yeah.
they play tomorrow, you'll see
Ah.
some of those last minute guys that make the cut, make the roster. I mean, you're seeing good stuff out of some young players, and you'll have to see kind of what they want to do at certain positions. It's always interesting to see how the final 53 shapes up, but
Yeah, I mean,
We'll have
we'll
to see.
sit through
I don't think there'll
cut-down
be any
weekend, and there won't be any
surprises.
surprises.
I don't
but,
really think
hey,
either.
depending on who gets cut from other teams, you never know how he could pull some rabbits out of a hat.
yeah,
Because there's still some places we need some people.
for sure. There's always places you can improve on, even on a roster like this, but
But we're almost there, man. We are almost there.
almost
Woo!
there, baby. Almost up in New England.
Are you ready
And
for
getting
some
this
football?
thing going, man. I mean, crazy to think about, truly crazy to think about, but very exciting. And yeah, we'll have more of last week and coming up next week. So thank you guys always for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at birds_squawk. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Fly Eagles Fly.
Go Birds.